Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today, we are talking about taking opportunities as you can. So I want to talk today more specifically about, there's Twitch people, right? There are people who stream on Twitch, and that's where they want to be, and they're not going to be anywhere else. And that's the end of it. No other discussion. That's it, right? And then you also have people who are YouTube people, and they're only going to be on YouTube. You have people who are Facebook people, who are only going to be on Facebook. Or why? Why is that the case? Why is it only that one platform? Yeah, okay, maybe their following is already there. Okay, I'll give you that. Maybe they're there already. But for most people, I don't think they put any thought into it. I think that's just an example of the concept I'm trying to talk about. I'm trying to talk about a lot of people, when they're building their brand, building their business, they don't necessarily consider all of the different options that they have. They kind of just fall into one, and then they roll with it long enough that they feel that they're in it. And I believe that we're given so many different opportunities in our life that people pass them by because they're afraid of losing what they have, even though the opportunity could take them to an entirely different level. And just kind of as an example, say that someone is in esports, just as an example. Someone's in esports and they're sitting there and they're playing, and maybe they're not number one in the world, or they're not on the best team in the world, or they're doing well. And something comes along and they're offered a position somewhere at some other company in order to integrate esports into a business or something. It's a lucrative paycheck, and they're going to have access and influence, and they're going to still be involved in esports, but they don't get a play. Does that person take the job, or are they give me a couple years and let me know if it's still open then? I think a good number of people, I can't, there's no numbers here. There's no way to say for certain, but I think a good number of people get stuck on whether or not they should take an opportunity like this. What is the calculus that you need to go through in making a decision of whether that potential opportunity is the right thing to do, or whether you should continue to do what you're doing now? And I'm here to say, examine it, because you never know where life is going to take you. If you are just locked in, single-minded focus on what you're currently doing, and there's nothing on heaven or heck that's going to make you decide that you're going to go and change what you're doing, you're potentially leaving money on the table. Because so many times in my life, I was doing something, and then somebody came along and they're like, "Hey, Brad, we would really like you to help us on this project." And I'm like, "Yeah, I got this thing, this little thing. I'm really proud of it. I've been doing really well with it. And it's not as great as I'd like it to be, but I'm here." But this opportunity over here, maybe the pay was lower. I've taken jobs where the pay was lower, but I ended up skyrocketing my position because I was willing to do it. An example was I was working at a court. I was the bailiff, staff attorney, court administrator of a county court. I helped manage the staff. I was overseeing the cases, and really I was writing opinions for the judges, or drafting, I should say, opinions for the judge to sign. And I had a lot of power in that position. I was on the judge track. I just had to stick there for enough years, and eventually I was going to be able to run for office and win, because that's how things worked. And I could have stayed there and had that kind of power, right? But I wanted something different with my life. And so I went and I moved into a private practice position where I was starting basically as an associate attorney, a first-year associate attorney. Hadn't even been licensed a full year. Definitely not in Ohio. I think I had just gotten my license. And so I was here, and I took a pay cut to work here, but within 7 months, I was made partner. I never knew that I was going to be made partner when I started the position. I just knew that there was more opportunity. There was more income potential in a shorter time frame. I had more room for growth. I could have developed throughout the state and, potentially even further. I just saw this as a stepping stone. I had to give up that track I was on, the judge track, right? I was hobnobbing with politicians. I was going to, expensive plated dinners where they serve rubber chicken and not so tasty vegetables. And if you've ever been to a political fundraiser, it's the same stuff over and over. But I had to give all that up in order to go to this other thing, which was kind of a risk. And then, I left that and I started my own law practice with my wife. And, here we were, our first year. It was a major risk because we didn't even make any money our first year. But before we knew it, we had an incredibly fast growing firm. We ended up hiring attorneys and staff members. And my wife was being invited around to teach other attorneys how to grow their firms. And I was being invited by real estate associations to teach them how to do advertising, all because of this. And so these opportunities are going to pop up in your life, and you never know where they're going to go. I'm not necessarily saying take the opportunities. I'm saying be willing to look at the opportunities, because I don't want you to get locked in thinking where you're at right now is the end all be all of what your life is going to be. You never know. If you have an opportunity come your way, spend a little time and do some prognosticating, which means looking into the future. All right, you're going to sit there and you're going to be some clairvoyant, and you're going to be like, I see. And then what's your life going to be like? What is other people's life like in this industry? What's the industry like, generally speaking? Where is it going to go? How hard is it going to be to grow? Is there going to be more competition, less competition? Are you going to be able to find and carve out your niche? Or are you going to be able to have the thing that everybody's going to buy? Or what is it for you in where you're currently at? And then do a little bit on the side with that other opportunity. Where is that going to go? Is it going to happen faster for you, slower for you? Is it like a really big risk? Is it just like dice and hoping it hits? Where is it? And these decisions are life-altering decisions. And I think too many people are afraid of making those decisions. A lot of people, they just want their nice, secure, comfortable job. I have a lot of respect for game developers. Right? Game developers, they were like me. They grew up playing video games. They loved video games, and they decided they wanted to make video games. So they went and they learned game design, or maybe they had to figure it out on their own if they didn't go to college for it. And then they got into the field and they realized, oh, shucks, nobody's hiring for game design. So they had to either start their own studio, or they had to grind through and get another position, or they got some low level somewhere, and then they rose through the ladder, and they figured out what they wanted, and they were able to do it. I have a lot of respect for them, because to some extent, they didn't know what the future held. They've just been living risk to risk to risk. And for many of them, it pays off. And for a lot of them, it hasn't yet, but it might still. You got to examine these opportunities, because if you are just going to everything that comes your way, oh, it doesn't pay as much as where I'm at. Nah, I'm not even willing to consider it. You could be leaving vast amounts of money on the table. I've been speaking with some people in the past week, and it's incredible the opportunity that I have in working with clients, but also the opportunity my clients are going to be able to have working with certain firms that I'm going to be able to refer them to. They'll be able to make their dreams come true. And so long as they have the right ideas and the right plan to get there. And, my job is to match people up and have them talk to each other. And I can do some consulting on the side, and then people's, the things they've always wanted happen if they're willing to take it. Another aspect of this is maybe you're not going to get exactly what you wanted. And that could be, that could be the death knell in your dreams, is you're not getting 100% of your dream. Maybe you're only getting 80% of your dream. And if you're like, well, 80% is not good enough for me, you're not going to have the future you've always envisioned, because you may not get that extra 20 anywhere. I know somebody I introduced to a funder. This was over a year ago. I introduced somebody to a funder, and they weren't asking for all that much money. I think it was like 500,000, maybe a couple million. But the funder was able to get it for them. Said, here's the terms. And the terms were something like they wanted 40 or 45% of the business. It was 100% funding, okay? 100% of the money that they needed. And the funder wanted 40 to 45%. I don't remember the exact numbers. And they turned the person down because they're asking for too much. Well, here's your dream. And here's a person who says, I'm willing to give you your dream. Everything's going to happen. You're going to make more money than you can possibly believe once you pull this thing off. And you're saying no because you're not getting an extra 10%? How many extra zeros do you really need? Those extra zeros, you can go off and fund another project and make up for it. But that's up to every person. Everybody's got their own ability to make their own decision for themselves. My point here is just be willing to look at them. Be willing to take a good, hard look, and don't just go with your gut like, oh, they're trying to steal from me. Not everybody's trying to steal from you. Everybody is looking out for themselves. That's how the world works. Just be willing to understand that they're looking out for themselves. I'm looking out for myself. How do we meet in the middle where we both win? It's win-win. And the people that this project is supposed to be helping also wins. If it's win-win-win, the project should go forward because everybody is happy. Well, maybe not happy. When we were in law school, we learned that a good negotiation means that nobody's happy at the end of the day. All right. So if nobody gets exactly what they want, it was a good negotiation. It's all good. Right. So that's what I want to talk about today is take some time. Be willing to look at the things that pop up. Don't dismiss stuff completely out of hand up front without any consideration because, if you're not happy, like 100% happy where you're at, and something comes along that could be the thing to your happiness, that could be life's way of knocking on your door and saying, here's your dreams. And are you interested in it? And if you're going to slam the door in life's face, what are the odds that life's going to come back with another opportunity? Not all that high. You don't get a lot of opportunities in life. You got to be willing to examine the ones that come up. So I remind you all, what's this? Organization is the enemy of sloth. All right. Be really thorough. Take some time. If it takes you 2-3 days to get back to somebody, who cares, right? We live in the internet age. Everybody expects instant gratification. I emailed you and it's been 10 minutes. Why haven't you responded back yet? That's not how business is actually done. I've had people, I got trackers on my emails, okay? I know when people open up my emails. And so I see people open up my emails 5 minutes after I send it, and they don't respond for 3 days. Do I get upset? No, why would I? Because I'll get somebody's email, I'll open it up, I'm like, I do not want to deal with this right now. I'll deal with it after I've dealt with all my other stuff over the next 2 days, and then I'll come back to this. Okay, business is business. Deals get done when they get done. All right, some people aren't going to get back for you for a week, 2 weeks, whatever. Like, that's just how it happens. Take some time. Examine it. Do some research. Talk to people. Get involved in these ideas. Because if you're talking about your life, 2 years of pain for a lifetime of happiness is not that big of a sacrifice. I was talking to somebody a while back and he was like 55 and I was helping him develop a business plan, and the plan was going to take something like 10 years in order to make the whole thing happen. It's this big, long, complex plan. It was more complex than it should have been. It should have been broken up, but he wanted this big plan. Like, okay, here it is. And we were able to present this to him. And he goes, are you kidding me? Do you know how old I'm going to be when this is done? He'll be like 65 years old when this is finally all said and done. It's up and running and it happens. I'm like, okay, I understand that, but how old will you be if it doesn't happen? Your life is not infinite. You have to understand at some point the ticker ends and it's done and it fades to black, curtains close and the game's over, right? Game over across the screen of your mind. And if you want your dreams to come true, spend some time understanding that it's not all going to be fun and games. It's like the song Remember the Name, right? It's 50% pain. 50% pain if you want the thing that you want. You have to go through the trials and tribulations. So spend the time to figure out if it's worth it. Every single opportunity that comes your way could be the one. If you're not happy making $20, $30, $40, $50, $100,000 a year, and along comes this opportunity that you can be making a couple million a year if you play your cards right and you stack things up, but it's going to take 3 years of time to do it. And you're going to be living through heck, and your spouse is going to be upset with you, and your kids are going to be hungry because you're not making as much money. Is it worth it to you? Spend the time. Don't let their cries go, I don't want to be hungry. Don't let that necessarily distract you. Keep your eye on the prize. What is the vision in your life? That's what I got for you all today. A little more metaphysical, I guess, huh? Don't be just a gamer. Be a gamerpreneur.